This hour with Russia and Ukraine. Russia has launched a rare hypersonic missile attack on Ukraine overnight, striking Kyiv and Lviv amid freezing winter temperatures. The oreshnik missile, one of Moscow's most advanced weapons, travels 10 times the speed of sound and can carry conventional or nuclear warheads. In Kyiv, multiple drone strikes hit residential buildings, killing 4 people and wounding 19 others. Street lights flickered and large parts of the city were plunged into darkness. Authorities in Lviv reported a missile strike on infrastructure, but no casualties so far. The attacks comes as what Russia warns Western troops in Ukraine would be considered illegitimate targets and following the U.S. seizure of a Russian-flagged oil tanker, escalating tensions further. However, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has already warned of a massive Russian attack. Let's listen into what the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has shared.
Дуже важливо звертати увагу на повітряні тривоги сьогодні, завтра, постійно, спускатися в укриття. Росіяни незмінні, вони намагаються скористатися погодою.
Now for this discussion, we welcome Dr. Gilbert Doctorow. He's a Russian affairs expert, joins us live from Brussels. Thank you very much, Dr. Doctorow, for joining us once again. Good to see you. Now, how do you analyze this current situation between, Russia and Ukraine? Do you think that is it escalating, or do you think that there these strikes from both sides could be jeopardizing any ceasefire talk efforts?
Well, the situation is definitely escalating, but that is reciprocal to the pressure that's now about to be applied to Russia by the United States. If indeed the bill presently in the U.S. Senate is passed and is given to Mr. Trump to sign, imposing 500% secondary tariffs on countries like India, Brazil, that have been purchasing Russian oil. So that the curious thing about this is that people are not talking about what the consequences of such tariffs will be on Russia. That Russia may go and do what it should, some people say it should have done long ago, which is to utterly destroy the Ukraine. The interesting thing, the very important thing about your news item this morning regarding the latest missile attack on Kyiv is that, as you say, it was an oreshnik that was used. That is a dramatic point of escalation. As you say, the oreshnik is both conventional and nuclear armed. And that is a message to Washington, to London, to Berlin, that first of all, that Russia has enough of these oreshniks that it's ready to use them and not just talk about them, because the only use so far occurred more than a year ago in a strike on a military production facility in the Ukrainian city of Dnipro. Since then, we've heard a lot about the oreshnik among theoreticians, but we haven't seen it used. We know that it's been deployed in Belarus. So there's talk, but no action. What would have happened yesterday is action, very important action. It will be interesting to see what the investigators tell us about the extent of destruction that the oreshnik's use in Kiev caused. There was much discussion about what happened in the attack on Dnipro, whether or not the oreshnik really did have the impact of a nuclear weapon, or whether its impact was far less severe. So that will be something to follow up very definitely in the days ahead.
So building on that, how do you see the alliance or state of alliance or alignment between the European allies of Ukraine and the coalition of the willing and the U.S. after the talks that were held this week?
Well, there are two elements to the dynamic in the alignment or relationship between the United States and the European leaders. The first is, as you say, it has to do with security guarantees for Ukraine following any conclusion of any peace agreement. And that has been an issue of negotiation between the United States and Europe, although we understand that there apparently is an agreement that the United States will enter into the security guarantees part of a peace settlement. The other dynamic is regarding the American ambition, American designs on taking over Greenland. And that is, at this moment, completely unaligned. But what we see there, and it describes the overall relationship between these two groups, Europe and the United States, is that the Europeans understand that they are very weak militarily, that they are utterly dependent on the United States for their defense, the American nuclear umbrella, to protect them against the raging Russian bear, whom they have been antagonizing, poking in the eye at every opportunity for the last several years. So this relationship is, Europeans are supplicants. They are not equal partners to the United States. And the curious thing is that their latest threats, if Mr. Trump proceeds with, shall we call it, a military takeover of Greenland, is that the European countries would pull out of NATO. I would like to just introduce to your listeners an alternative reading of this. There is nothing that could make Mr. Trump happier than if the European leaders pulled out of NATO, because it is no big secret that Mr. Trump does not like NATO, does not like the EU. So this relationship is very complicated. It is being exposed in major media only in a very partial way.
Yes.
And it deserves much more attention. I'm very happy that you are directing attention to it.
Thank you for highlighting that. And Dr. Doctorow, so why there's this huge gap between how Trump sees Europe and how predecessors of Trump, or the previous U.S. governments saw Europe?
It is completely different understanding of the world order and how it should be. And we saw that a little more than a month ago when Mr. Trump presented his new national security strategy document, which upended U.S. foreign policy priorities that had been in place since the creation of NATO in 1949. He is talking about a foreign policy that is very muscular, that is based on might makes right, that has no pretense about furthering democracy, about human values and so forth, but is about America's core material interests and furthering America's control or hegemony, at least in the Western Hemisphere, and to a certain extent, farther afield. One of his priorities is the destruction of BRICS. His predecessors talked about how BRICS was a threat, a multipolar world was against the interests of the United States, but they were not prepared to do anything. He is prepared to do it, and we see that in the tariffs he's imposed on India, on China, on Brazil.
Very enlightening. Thank you very much, Dr. Doctorow, for sharing that. Please stay with us as we come back to you for our next discussion as well.